Shabbat Shalom, Kol Halo Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem HaKadosh, double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us his truth, and Shabbat Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. I'm the brother Yahshua, I'm back with the WW3 Daily Update. Shabbat Shalom and salutations to you as well. And this is the second go around because the first the first video crashed and burned, and Baba Kasha, this one will make it through to fruition. So I'm going to keep this one extremely short. We're just going to let Dina give the update. So we'll start right here at Joel 3 and 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Okay? All right? Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. All right. In the interest of time, we're going to let Dina Amelia Calmetta bring the update, because I just saw this was 16 minutes ago. While the other video crashed and burned, this kind of showed its face. So let's just let this play and, attribute it to the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua wanting this information to come out instead. So, and it reads, U.S. flies bombers near North Korea. China warns U.S. leaders. Russia gives nukes to Belarus Air Force. All things that we do know, but this seems kind of recent. A U.S. flies bombers near North Korea. That sounds like a provocation of sorts, letting you know that this is all of these put together. What is this? Spell World War III. All right, so take it away, Dina.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's Dina Calmetta here. And so for today's news, I figured I'd bring you a midweek update just to get you caught up on some headlines that have occurred in the last couple of days. And so for today, I'd like to start with the United States, China, and Taiwan, as it has been reported that apparently Kevin McCarthy, the House Speaker, is to meet with the President of Taiwan against China's orders. So many of you might wonder, well, why is China dictating to U.S. leaders who they can see and who they cannot see? Well, for one, it could be the one China policy, or some are saying that China has lost complete respect for the U.S. The Chinese embassy wrote a threatening email to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and other members of Congress that were planning to meet with Taiwan's president on Wednesday. Now, apparently, she's already met with U.S. senators and is scheduled to speak with McCarthy today as well. The Chinese embassy wrote that I have to point out that China will not sit idly by in the face of blatant provocation and will most likely take necessary and resolute actions in response to the unwanted situation. Let's work together to prevent such a thing from happening. The letter went on to state that former Speaker Pelosi's visit to Taiwan last year triggered a serious crisis in the China-U.S. relationship, and the lessons should be learned. Former National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien spoke out against China's lack of respect for the U.S. He responded to a question from host Trey Gowdy on whether the U.S. should care about China's displeasure with Taiwan's president's visit, and argued that America should not be dictated to by the communist regime in China. He stated that the Chinese have no respect for us. So then why wouldn't they tell us who we could or couldn't meet with? American politicians and the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, are going to meet with whoever they want in the world. This is America, and we're not going to be dictated to by the communists in China and Beijing on who we can or can't see.
Boom. It's just that attitude right there. as to why the whole world is turning against Babylon the Great. Okay, that pride right there. All right? And the Most High hates pride. What cometh before the fall of Babylon? Pride.
Brian also addressed the bipartisan consensus forming that started in the Trump administration and has continued into the Biden administration, acknowledging that China poses a significant threat to the U.S. He stated that China is a danger to us. It's a threat to our way of life. He said that we've never faced anything like this as a country. They've got a massive economy, massive number of people. They're ideologically motivated. He also stated that China is coming for us. He said, I think America is finally starting to wake up to the threats that we face, and there are things that we have to do. He also argued that America needs to stop China from buying farmland next to our military bases and ban TikTok. Veteran actor James Woods sounded off on the indictment of former President Donald Trump on Tuesday, calling it a cheap distraction from America's real enemies. Sharing an article from Fox News about China's new nuclear submarines, Woods said that the White House is ghost hosting a dog and pony show in New York instead of dealing with real problems. He said that China and Russia colluding to carve up the world is what the puppet masters pulling the strings in the White House should be concerned with.
That is significant. That is significant news. Look at this. These guys are handling real business while what? President, China, Russia, and this guy. Where's Trump? This guy, right? What's going on here? The dog and pony show. Okay, look at this. Can you read the hand? It says many tekel you farson. All right. Can you read the handwriting on the wall? This is on point, 100%. James Woods slams the White House, America, hosting a dog and pony show in New York while China and Russia plot world domination. That's huge. That is so on point. Okay? Showing you what spirit, right, is on Babylon. All right? And when you understand the totality of everything going on, this is from the top down. They call it the NWO, right? This is their plan. Okay. Yeah, world domination. But who's above Russia and China and Babylon? Who's above that? Right? Well, it goes straight up. They say that at the very top of the Illuminati, at the very pinnacle of the pyramid, they're dealing with extraterrestrials. Now, that's true. Okay, who are they dealing with? Who is the extraterrestrial that they're dealing with at the very top? Well, you can just say that he's the spiritual demon, Satan, who works for the Most High. So it's a true statement. All right? Yeah, they work together. He gives them spiritual power on the left-hand side. So it's all, that's true statement when you understand that the Most High controls both sides. All right? Carry on.
Ghost hosting a dog and pony show in New York instead of dealing with real problems. He said that China and Russia colluding to carve up the world is what the puppet masters pulling the strings in the White House should be concerned with. Instead, they're ghost hosting a dog and pony show in New York while our president naps. Now, according to a Fox News article, the U.S. military...
And again, okay, you got the dog and pony show, right, which is this. So this guy, right? That's one clown. And what about
They're
this?
Ghost hosting a dog and pony show in New York
Clown
while
one.
Our president naps.
Clown
now,
two.
According to a Fox News article, the U.S. military...
You see how bad it looks for Babylon? It just looks bad. on the surface. Okay? And the Most High is the one that does it. This is a shameful spewing.
Recently determined that China keeps at least one nuclear submarine out at sea at all times. The Pentagon announced the discovery in a little-known report in late November of last year. China maintains a fleet of 6 nuclear-capable submarines carrying missiles that could hit the continental United States from the South China Sea. Analysts say that China's new policy will place further strain on U.S. and allied forces in the region as they attempt to track China's vessels. James Woods does make some very valid points. China and Russia are looking for world domination, especially China. But here in the United States, what are they doing? They're arresting their political opponents. Jesus said that a house divided would not stand, and the United States is divided in half.
His name is Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew.
While Russia and China and North Korea and Iran and others are planning World War III, we are definitely in a very precarious situation. And speaking of which, I would like to move along and talk about what's happening with Finland and NATO and Russia's response. Finland joined NATO to become the alliance's 31st member on Tuesday, issuing a major rebuke to Moscow and doubling the border length Russia shares with the military alliance. Both Finland and Sweden filed to join NATO, though Sweden's process is still ongoing. As with all NATO members, Finland will benefit from the collective security guarantee of Article 5. An armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all. Moscow has already threatened to deploy troops on its side of the border with Finland if NATO moves to expand its presence in the new member country. Now, with that said, Moscow has responded. Peskov stated that the Kremlin believes that this is another aggravation of the situation. The expansion of NATO is an infringement on our security and Russia's national interests. The expansion of NATO forces Russia to take countermeasures to ensure its own security. He went on to state that the situation with Finland, of course, is radically different from the situation with Ukraine. Because firstly, Finland has never had anti-Russian rhetoric, and we have had no disputes with Finland. With Ukraine, the situation is the opposite, and potentially much more dangerous. Dmitry Peskov also stated that the further expansion of NATO is an encroachment on their security and on Russia's national interests.
Okay, I'm going to speed it up here because I just saw something that I'm going to sneak in here. So let's see where this is.
Stated that Belarus's Air Force can now carry out nuclear strikes thanks to Russia's assistance. The Russian official noted that Moscow has also handed over a unit of nuclear-capable Iskander and mobile short-range ballistic missiles to its ally. Speaking during a meeting with a Russian top brass on Tuesday, he said that part of the Belarusian attack air fleet has received the ability to conduct strikes on enemy targets with nuclear means of destruction. Commenting on the move, he cited an uptick in NATO's military activities along the borders of the Union state comprising Belarus and Russia. In the meantime, over in North Korea, the U.S. flew nuclear-capable B-52 bombers to the Korean Peninsula on Wednesday in a show of strength against North Korea. The long-range bombers took part in joint aerial drills with the U.S. and South Korean fighter jets over the Korean Peninsula. It was the first deployment of the U.S. B-52 bombers to the peninsula in a month. With tensions around Taiwan rising and North Korea firing missiles at a blistering pace, lawmakers in neighboring Japan are pushing for a rollout of shelters where its residents can take refuge in the event of an attack. A bill laying out a schedule for shelter provision could be passed as soon as next fiscal year. The co-leader of the lawmakers group pushing for the shelter provision stated that Japan hasn't been involved in a war for 77 years.
Clearly preparing for World War III. Okay, so I just saw this. What was it? Oh, it's this guy. Let me see. It's Poplar Preparedness. Let me see. Poplar, if I'm correct. What do they call it now? Oh, Poplar Report. Let me see. See if this is correct. A warehouse and a factory burn. Nope. Salakia, bear with me. because oh, here it is, Kremlin fire. Right, 1 hour ago, Russia threatens nuclear war after Russian do this. I just saw this as I was scrolling. So let's take a look at this. All right, let's see where this is going.
Once you meet.
So, Lockie, bear with me on the commercial. Okay, so this is the Poplar report. Okay, Russia, right, an hour ago. Let's check it out.
For us. Just a little over an hour ago, a fire broke out at the Russian Defense Ministry's office, which is in downtown Moscow, which is basically part of the Kremlin, and it's like the United States Pentagon. So this is big news. Just 4 months ago, they began stationing air defense batteries on the roof of this building, and now there is a fire in the building. The Russian officials are now saying that there was a small fire, but obviously they have to admit something since there's a lot of smoke.
Sounds like an inside job, right? Infighting in Russia, unless it was espionage and somebody snuck up in there and did that. That would be very bold.
Out of the building, pictures that we're seeing do not seem like a small building with multiple floors on fire. And like I said, this is like the U.S. Pentagon on fire. This is massive news out there. And this is the very day that Finland has just joined NATO. Not only that, but NATO chief just going out there in a speech again affirming that the Ukraine will absolutely, definitely join NATO eventually. And that, of course, is the breaking point has been for Russia, that they absolutely do not want Ukraine to join NATO, and part of the reason why they invaded there in the first place because of the fear of U.S. deploying missile batteries in the Ukraine. In addition to that, we now have confirmation from the Russian government that they have deployed nuclear weapons to Belarus in response partially to Finland, as well as they've been threatening this to get the NATO and other countries to back off. They have deployed those. They're under Russian control, and they are being so Russian military forces have nuclear weapons in Belarus on delivery systems, missile batteries, that type of thing. These are probably smaller tactical nuclear weapons that are designed for battlefield use, not so much for taking out cities. But then again, we don't know exactly what is there. The United States has nuclear weapons in Turkey, in several European countries. We have them stationed around the world in different places. Sometimes we declare that we have them. Sometimes we just keep it hush-hush. But obviously, as things are happening with Finland, so now there are tens of thousands of NATO soldiers right up against the Russian border, and that has definitely got Russia very, very nervous. They are very sensitive about being invaded because they've been invaded multiple times, right? You go back to Napoleon invading Russia.
Okay, so I mean, listen to the language, and we don't have to listen to it anymore. The language being used, nukes, invading, just it's World War III. Okay, all right, go back and watch the rest of this. Okay. All right, Finland inducted into NATO, which extends the Russian border threat, if you will. Just crazy. It's just crazy. So we'll go ahead and we'll get out. We'll end it. All right. Hey, Joel 3 again and 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. It's obvious. Okay? It's obvious what is going on. All right, so we're watching. We got the popcorn out. We're happy. Don't get it twisted. All right? we have to see World War III. We have to see this thing through the end for the ultimate regime change, right? How does the one that you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahushua, how does he sit on the throne? Well, there has to be a war. Okay? There has to be a war first. World War III is the first part of that war, and then the angels and Yahushua come in to clean it up. Right? And then the throne will be set up. New Jerusalem coming down. All right, so let's get a revelation on the way out. As we do, Revelation 11 and 14, the second woe is past. That's speaking of World War II. And behold, the third woe, World War III, cometh quickly. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect were edified. Hey, this thing's coming. Nothing can stop it. It's speeding up like a freight train with every day that goes by. We hope that the elect were edified, you brothers and few sisters. With that, we're going to say Shabbat Shalom.